Hi, Jim. This is Michael from OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com. And thank you for the email. So you're one of my TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course students. You're one of my TOEFL Speaking Bootcamp course students. And you have a specific grammar question I'm going to spend some time on right now. So let's go to the question first, and we get these examples out of the way. Let's look at what the question is, and then we'll go from there. So you said, "Sir, I have a grammar question." The sentence is, her house burning down was more adversity than she could handle. You said, "For more adversity, I think it is wired. Could you please explain this to me? Thanks a lot." I have no idea what you mean by wired, but I think the question about the sentence is good. In this case, we have a possessive word which is used to modify what's called a gerund phrase. Actually, the gerund phrase would be burning down, right? So her house burning down was more adversity than she could handle. Now, to understand this sentence, we need to separate it into two separate sentences first. I think that's probably the first step. So let's look at this first. So you could probably look at the first sentence as being her house burned down, and then this was more adversity than she could handle, and this of course refers to the burning of her house. Now for TOEFL speaking and TOEFL writing, you want to make sure you're using a combination of both basic and advanced grammar. So your question is about advanced grammar. How do you use a possessive word to modify a gerund phrase, right? So that would be the first step, is to see the sentence expressed like this. But using simple sentences like this, only using these during TOEFL speaking and writing, I think SpeechRater and eRater, ETS is artificial speaking and writing scoring engines, they're not going to like that type of grammar. So we want to show that we have mastery, and that means we're using advanced grammar. And that brings us to the next sentence here. Now, another way to say it would be right here. You could say, her house burned down, and then we're using which. This is called an adjective clause, and using which to comment on the entire sentence. Excuse me. So instead of having two short, simple sentences, we now have her house burned down, which was more adversity than she could handle. You could express it like this using an adjective clause. Then, even more advanced grammar would be this one. You could say that her house burned down was more adversity than she could handle. In this case, we're using what's called a noun clause, and we're using this whole idea as the subject of the sentence. And that's a little bit more advanced grammar than what you see in the previous kind of complex sentence, right? And notice how in conversational English we would say it like this. The fact that her house burned down was more adversity than she could handle. And then we go from there, I think, to the sentence that you're asking me about, which is this one. Her house burning down was more adversity than she could handle. So how do we actually get this ing here, right? So if you go back to the original sentence, notice how we have her house burned down, and then burned is what's called active voice, which means the subject is the doer of the action in this case. So because it's active voice, when we can make a gerund out of it using ing. So her house burning down was more adversity than she could handle. Now, to help you understand this a little bit more, I have two concluding sentences in this video that show you how to use possessive words to modify gerund phrases in both subject and object positions. So in this case, you're scoring more than 110 on the TOEFL exam is an amazing accomplishment, right? So you see that one, and then the next one would be, my friend told me about, notice the preposition here, and then you have about Larry's, which is the possessive word, and then the gerund comes after it. So my friend told me about Larry's graduating from dental school. So I think that being able to use possessive words to modify gerund phrases in both subject and object positions. That's a great start for your advanced grammar. In addition, understanding how to use noun clauses in subject positions to express similar ideas also demonstrates advanced grammar. So these are some good things to think about as you think about improving your syntactic variety during the TOEFL speaking and writing tasks.